So I'm here today with Hailey Bartholomew, who is with us from at a great distance. I'm in Alaska, and she's in Brisbane, Australia. Hello, Hailey.
Hello.
So I came across. I wish I could remember exactly how, but I came across a TED Talk that you did back in 2008 about a gratitude project you started and how gratitude had kind of changed your perspective on a great number of things. And what I'd hope you do today is just share a little bit about maybe some of the high points of that TED Talk, the what the genesis of your project was, what your project is, and then we'll just have a conversation about gratitude and how that impacts the way that we go about our lives. So, you want to give us the
Okay.
background?
Sure. So I was, at home with two small kids and feeling fairly depressed. I was just really struggling with the monotony of life,
Hmm.
and so I started to see this nun that I'd heard through multiple friends that was a really good counselor, and so I went off to her, and she was like, what's wrong? And I was like, I don't know, I just feel really unhappy all the time,
Hmm.
and she was really good because she wasn't like, oh well, let's get to the deep meaning, quickly.
Yeah.
I think she pretty quickly established that I liked like my husband, and I liked quite a lot of things about my life, but I was just miserable.
Hmm.
And she just gave me this assignment: take um, take 10 minutes at the end of every day, reflect through your day. And she said, really literally, reflect through the day from I got up and I did this and I did this. And then she said, write down anything you're grateful for. And she was really, at first I was like, oh, okay, that sounds boring, but all right. Um, so I did it, and I was just writing it down like she said to. And it wasn't long before, like I think it was like day three, I was like, hold on a second, I'm seeing things about my life that I hadn't been seeing. So I was like, oh, this is cool. And I did the 10 days, and I don't think it changed my mood that quickly or anything, but I then was like, I'm going to do this with photography because I was a photographer and super interested in photography. And so I bought a stack of Polaroid film and set about doing it via photos, and then sharing that online on Flickr, which was kind of big at the time. And not so much now.
Yeah.
No Instagram now. And 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 yeah, basically it just kind of it probably about 3 month mark where I was like wake. I had been waking, going, no, not another day. Like
Hmm.
that's kind of my mood was really like, oh please no, I just want to go back to sleep.
Hmm.
And about the 3 month mark, I really noticed I was waking, going, wow, I am so lucky to be alive. And
Yeah.
like, so, and not that my life was any different, it was just that I was seeing my life differently. And it just sort of spiraled from there, and all the things I learned over the course of the year. And particularly to do with my husband, just really sort of seeing all the things that were great about him rather than focusing on all the things that he wasn't doing, and
Yeah.
wasn't romantic enough, or he never bought me flowers or whatever that happened to be in my head at the time. And yeah, just sort of seeing him anew, and actually many of my
Yeah.
relationships. Yeah, so that's kind of where it started, and yeah, it sort of just spiraled out from there.
Yeah. So the project though was that you had decided that you would take a photo every day of something that you were thankful for, right?
Yep. One photo, because I was using Polaroid, which is
Hmm.
instant film. I only wanted to take one photo a day of something I was grateful for
Yeah.
and put that in my book. And the reason I went for Polaroid was because I'm a photographer and I didn't want to spend a lot of time on the computer editing
Sure.
everything. And it meant that I couldn't control too much. It was just like, here you go, this is the photo,
Yeah.
pop it in the book.
That's
Yeah, it
great.
was good.
Well, and I love, so I mean, I'll link the TED Talk to this because you share some of the images in the TED Talk. And one of the points that you brought out that I think is super important, because when we talk about things like gratitude, it often becomes like the stuff that you should be thankful for. Like here, if you're a good
That's true.
person, you will be thankful for these things. And you really, it seemed like you had the freedom to, instead of here's the things that I should be thankful for, what do you really feel thankful for?
Yeah,
What
I
was
was
that like?
really committed to. I was quite committed to that because I could. I could list from the very beginning a list of things I should be grateful for, i.e. my husband, my
Yeah.
kids, I've got healthy kids,
Sure.
blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm healthy, you know. We all have
Yeah.
lists of things that we know we should be grateful for. But I was really committed to what do I feel in that moment and actually feel something for rather than the things we think we should
Yeah.
have. And that I think really is important because, you know, it means we have to look a little deeper and it means we have to sort of like be present in the moment that we're in.
Yeah.
And that's quite a difference to head sort of thing, thinking versus like really being. So yeah, it got to the point where I was like arguing with myself for what photo will I take for the day because I was like, I like this, and then I'm like, oh, but I really like that moment, and
Yeah.
and sometimes I'd take it in the morning, and something amazing would happen in the afternoon, and I'd be like, damn.
That's great, but I love that you put constraints on it, and that you had this idea and objective that you wanted. You talked about noticing things, and I find that I basically drive the same route to work every single day, and every once in a while I will see something that I've never seen before, and you realize that you're just kind of numb for the most part. You go through these certain motions, and the idea of looking for things on purpose, I think, is really powerful. And so how was that when you had to kind of change your mindset and say, I'm going to pay attention to certain things?
I don't know, obviously you probably have never been that, but a lot of girls or women might notice is that when you're pregnant, you see pregnant people everywhere.
Yeah.
Or when you're, I don't know, whatever, but whatever you're focused on, that's exactly what you see.
Yeah.
And that is the difference. It's that I wasn't focused on that. I was focused on what was wrong with my life, that I hadn't got a great career and I hadn't done this and I hadn't done that and everyone else was traveling and, you know, whatever, all the things that we look out at the world and go, I should have that, versus what do I have? And the two are huge difference in creating mood for your life and how you feel. And I didn't experiment. This is totally aside from 365 Grateful, but when we moved to the beach, so I actually don't live in Brisbane. I live on the Gold Coast, which is by the beach. Don't worry.
I'm a liar.
It's Brisbane time.
Okay.
And Gold Coast is right on the border, so I didn't want any confusions.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I did this experiment because I kept finding love heart rocks, like hundreds of them, and so I was like, okay, well, you know, I was finding them, and I was like, Andrew, this is because I can. This is my husband. This is because I keep finding heart rocks because I'm looking for them. If I didn't look for them, obviously I wouldn't find them. And it's like this whole backing up my philosophy around the 365 Grateful and da-da-da. And he was like, yeah, but you probably couldn't find square rocks. And I was like, I was really annoyed. But I was like, okay, then fine. I'm going to find square rocks. And I did. And
of course you did.
Immediately I found like 5 square rocks, and I gave him these, and I made a little film on this, and it was just, it's such an interesting experiment to even just try that. If you can't commit to a 365 or a whole year project, but try, you know, I'm going to find heart-shaped things, or I'm going to, you know, see how your mind just constant flow of whatever it is you're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're looking for, when you've got your mind focused on something negative, you can find plenty of that, right? And so why do we do that to ourselves, you know? So you mentioned your husband, and the talk has the sweetest story about your husband. I mean, literally. So I watched the talk again last night to prepare for this, and I'm sitting in bed. My wife is actually traveling right now, but I'm sitting in bed by myself, and I'm. It's just the most wonderful little story. So I hope you talk about you had this idea that your husband was not particularly romantic, and you maybe were looking at it the wrong way, and you had a little shift in perspective.
Yeah, I think I had sort of, you know, more idealistic ideas about what romance was, maybe a little more like fanciful. And I had been always thinking he's not romantic, we don't ever go on dates and various things like that, and it had always been a little bit of a miffed that I'd like ended up with this really unromantic guy, and which is kind of ironic given where I'm going. And but anyway, I had this idea, and I was always a little bit miffed. And then I started the gratitude project, and obviously, what I started to notice was how many things he was doing that I was grateful for. Really little, gorgeous things, sweet things, and this one day actually what propelled kind of the new realization was this one day it was 5 p.m. and the light was going, and I was like, Polaroid and natural light are a must, and fluorescent no go. And anyway, I was like, I've got to get a photo. It's nearly dark, and I'm literally going like this. I'm looking around, and 5:30, and Andrew is like we were serving out dinner early or something, and he is serving our plates, and there's 4 plates, and he's giving the kids little pieces, and then he hands me my plate, and he's giving me the best piece of pie, the biggest and the nicest piece, and he's got this piece that's sliding up to the side, and I was like, that is so nice. Like, it's just, I'm smaller than him, and he's giving me the biggest piece of pie, and it was just so moving. And from that moment on, it was like I woke up to all the tiny billions of things he was doing that I wouldn't have noticed otherwise. And like things like, he would always reach out and hold my hand in the car, or he would play the ukulele as our girls fell asleep and sing them little songs, and just beautiful little things that, actually they're way more important than flowers or anything else. But I had got in my head this thing, and I couldn't see anything else. And it was this amazing awakening. And I think probably the part that everyone cries about, and the part that still cracks me, is that we were interviewed after the project finished. In this article, this lady asked Andrew what were the differences he noticed, and he said, in me, and he said, well, I feel like I'm enough for her now. And I think, that's what kills me every time, because I'm like, here I am, I love this man, but I'm just so putting out, you aren't enough. And then there was this, project really gave me a sense of how beautiful he is, and he felt that.
I love it. It's so good. And I mean, that's at the end of the day, that's kind of what we want, right? For the people who mean the most to us, like, we want to matter to them, and we want to be significant, and so the fact that
really
can come out,
absolutely. Not the other person's ideals of what we should be and stuff like that. And it has really sort of helped me in letting go of what roles, like we have roles for people. You're my sister, so you should be like this. And it helps, I think, see who they actually are versus what we want them to be.
Yeah, that's great. I love it. So tell me a little bit about, maybe we can just talk for a moment about this idea of taking something that you care about, or, I mean, in this case, you began to care about this idea of gratitude. It was sort of an exercise to begin with, but then mashing that up with something you're good at. So you're a photographer, so obviously you decide, I'm going to find a way to connect photography and this gratitude project. I have a printing company, so I decided I was going to make a bunch of thank you cards. No one needs to do the thing that we did the way we did it, but we all have an opportunity to take something we care about and connect it to something that we have an aptitude with. Like that, when I saw your project, I was like, I feel like we're doing the same thing. We're just doing it entirely differently, but it's the same idea, So what have maybe you learned about that, about how you mash these two ideas up? What's kind of come to the surface about?
Well, I think it's important to do whatever is natural for you. However, to incorporate a practice like gratitude or whatever you're trying to practice, it has to be natural for you. And I think, so I've made films now about an artist who did 100 thank yous, and she painted a picture for 100 different people. And she, she's an artist. That was a perfect thing for her to do.
Sure.
And other people have written to me about their practices of they love writing lists. And so they write long lists and every day and stuff like that. All sorts of writers might be better to write, and whatever it is that is your thing, it just feels more natural and easier to incorporate it into your life if it's part of you. I've actually even done, I did a month long, because I also make films, I did a month long video in 30 days of just my grateful video moments and
Yeah,
then mashed it all together. It's cute.
cool.
It's particularly cute now that my kids are so big and they're so cute and little again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Look back on those things. That's great.
Yeah.
So how do you
But
feel
yeah.
like? Oh, so how do you feel like this has changed you? So I mean, this started 8-ish years ago, something like that. You know, it's been a little while. Are you a different
Mm.
person than when this started?
Yeah, I am. I'm completely, I feel quite different to what I was. Um, my life is quite different too. There's just so many ways that I feel like it changed me from just having a. I mean, immediately if I'm in a bad mood, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
where have you gone wrong here? What? Let's go back to
Yes.
gratitude.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're feeling a bit crabby. Okay, let's put a bit of perspective on that.
Sure.
And I also feel like there's something about doing a year-long project like that that made me realize what was really important to me,
Hmm.
and maybe less listening to what the world thought was important,
Yeah.
and our society feels is important, and rather I could see very clearly overall that I found a great deal of delight in the littlest things and the smaller things of
Yeah.
life, and space for those was really important, and things like walking on the beach, and those things were important to me. And I think that has helped me make decisions about where we want to go in our lives, and the kind of life I want, which has helped create the kind of life I want,
Yeah.
rather than the kind of life I think I want.
Yeah. 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 That's
So
really great. That's great. Well, I mean, personally, after watching your video and having a few minutes to talk to you, I'm incredibly happy for you because yeah, I mean, it seems like you have really taken this as a it's a very significant change for you personally, you know, and so I think that's really wonderful, and to see that how it plays out with your specific gifts is really remarkable. So I can't imagine that people are going to watch this and not be moved a little bit, and hopefully moved to do something on their own as well, and to find where their interests and their skills can overlap with something that can maybe change the world a little bit. So
yeah.
I guess I'm guessing you weren't setting out to change the world, but judging by the number of people who are following along with your projects, I think you have. So
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Yeah, I think I think it's probably better to work on changing yourself than the world anyway.
Yeah, yeah, probably more effective,
The
right?
world is like, gee, thanks, get away.
Yeah. So if people want to know more about what you're doing, where should I send them?
Probably 365grateful.com.
Okay.
There's all our little short films that I've done on other people's projects, and TED Talk, and anything new goes up there.
Cool. That sounds good. I will do that. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Lovely to talk to you.
To you as well.